So Walid, thank you very much for joining us today. 30 years SPAN Group has been in the market now in UAE, in the Middle East. We're going to come to that in a little while, but first of all, you've been exhibiting at Materials Handling Middle East since the very first edition many years ago. You're back again in 2019. What have been the latest developments at SPAN since the last edition of Materials Handling Middle East?
First of all, thank you for joining us today. The last 2 years were very exciting. Many changes. Main ones are an increased level of automation.
Okay.
I would say an increased level of micro-automation in the marketplace. The first finding over the last 2 years is that automation will come sooner than expected to our part of the world, despite lower real estate costs or lower manpower costs.
And in terms of micro-automation, that's actually the first time I've heard of that term before. How do you define micro-automation and what exactly is that?
Micro-automation, some people term it as mobile automation, is the use of robotic tools, smart trolleys, rather than fixed automation where you use mainly ASRS machines or multi-shuttle machines. So it's basically a flexible type of software-dominated tools that help the person, rather than replacing the operator, helping the warehouse operator be more productive.
Okay. When we're talking about industries that SPAN serves, obviously anything to do with warehouse and supply chain logistics solutions, in terms of, I think e-commerce is one particular industry that has really kind of taken off in the market recently. Would you care to elaborate on that?
Sure. The biggest part of our business is with either e-commerce companies or with traditional distribution organizations setting up their electronic commerce operations. This is now a fact. And I believe that this is a fact that will be here to remain. Whether you distribute or you sell groceries, garments, electronics, or even white or brown goods.
30 years in the market, congratulations. Three decades, it's certainly a long time in the market. You have obviously been through the ups and downs of economic cycles. All businesses are impacted, but in the logistics landscape, since you started 3 decades ago to now, how has it evolved and how has it changed?
I will dare to say everything has evolved. It has been 30 exciting years. People have evolved. The quality, the skills of warehouse personnel, from basic duties at the warehouse like housekeeping or forklift driving up to logistics, strategic logistics management has changed. The word logistics was invented during the 30 years. The word supply chain management was invented. We are now a science. We are now a reality. And with all modesty, we're all behind the driving wheel now. Amazon is a logistics company.
Future opportunities, let's talk about automotive, groceries, third-party logistics. Where do you see the kind of future for SPAN?
3PL is here to stay. Third-party logistics are providing services that organizations would rather avoid to do. But they have to adapt to what the organization want, and we spoke a couple of years ago about the fragmentation in the business, about the speed factor, etc. 3PL companies are the early ones who've started to adapt their space, their people and their equipment to service modern commerce, whether it's electronic or still traditional. In terms of tendencies that we see to come, further fragmentation, acute fragmentation, and more importance to speed and velocity.
So the end user, the customers becoming more demanding. They want quicker speed, they want delivery on time. It's getting more and more challenging, I guess, for...
Correct, yeah, correct. But again, we've seen quickly evolvement, we've seen quickly situations where we go to a certain stated state. For example, we now on a couple of projects, I can't unfortunately specify where they are or for whom, that are of the click and collect nature. So you order online and you pick it up from a certain location. This relieves your vendor from last mile issues, And last mile is still the most important challenge facing e-commerce. And some statistics say, at least as far as groceries are concerned, half of the transactions will be delivered to destination and half will be delivered to picking stations.
Why do you think that is? So the consumer buys online, but they prefer to collect instead. Is that because I guess they have more control about when they actually receive their items?
Exactly. And that's why I mentioned groceries, for example. You have perishables, you have dry goods, frozen goods, etc. And normally it's people leaving back home from work at a certain time. They put the order and they instruct that at 5:30 I'll come to the picking station and pick it up.
And I know, for example, Amazon do that as well. They have these various pickup stations dotted around Dubai where consumers can actually collect their stuff. And with that, from an automation point of view, it would make sense for these picking stations to be as automated as possible, I'd imagine, wouldn't it?
At the end, it's a matter of software. Logistics now is more about software than it is about forklifts or racks or conveyors.
That's something that Span Group obviously provides.
Well, out of 370, we're now 105 in technology and 150 in service. We're still a good forklift and rack company, but again, we're also a service and a software organization.
Okay. You've said before that service and technology is the future of the logistics industry. Why is that?
Well, technology, because it's getting more complex. Besides fragmentation, there is speed, multiple destinations, multiple pickup points. People talk about the last mile. They started talking about the first mile. I would rather talk about the first 15 miles. In some this e-commerce fulfillment facilities, a picker walks, not 15 miles, but 10 miles, 15 kilometers on average a day. It's complex, it's fragmented, it has to be quick, it relies significantly on human resources. There's only software and technology that can make sense of this and really manage it. It's beyond a manager's decision to ship 10,000 orders to 5,000 destinations a day. It has to be automated.
And what about Materials Handling Middle East, of course, returning for the umpteenth time? Yes. Many times you've been at the show. What are you bringing to the show this year? And second question, who would you like to meet?
What we're bringing at the show, like every time, we try to come with something new. At the show this year, you will see smart trolleys. At the show this year, you will see the first simulator. You will see people think about simulators for pilots to train them to drive aircraft. We're bringing our first simulator to this part of the world to train people how to drive forklifts. Resources are rare, accidents are happening. We have to, and we're asking more from our forklift drivers. They have to be properly trained. What best than a simulator where they can do all the mistakes they want over the first few days before we put them behind the steering wheel. Okay. We are also introducing a new concept in storage called Storganizer that converts within pallet tracking 2 pallet locations into 90 pick locations. Imagine, we always talk fragmentation. Small locations, small pieces. We talk speed, so we can't afford to travel a lot. Imagine that instead of 2 SKUs, each sitting on a pallet, keeping the same infrastructure, we install a system called the Storganizer, and you have 90 pick faces. You have 90 different SKUs. So efficiency of space and quick turnaround of your orders. We've already installed the first organizers in Lebanon, in Qatar, and in the Emirates.
What particular industries were these?
E-commerce. I would really invite e-commerce companies and distribution companies who are having electronic commerce or looking seriously into e-commerce to come to the Material Handling Show this year. You will see something different besides racks and forklifts.
And so the Storganizer, is obviously perfect for the likes of e-commerce companies, retailers that have an online presence. distributors that have online presence. Anyone that has an online presence, the store organizer is perfect for their solutions, for their requirements rather.
It addresses the issues of traveling time and traveling density, as well as storage.
And is this with the simulator that's with Jongheinrich? Is that in partnership with Jongheinrich?
Sure, sure.
And the store organizer, is that your own proprietary software? Or?
It's a collaboration between us and the US company.
How confident are you about the future of your business and the warehousing landscape in the future?
For people who are preparing themselves for the future looks bright. The key word now in our industry is courage. You have to be courageous. You have to dare. Okay, you cannot be foolish, but this is the time to dare. We're here to stay. I personally am very much excited about the years to come. As far as the show, I look forward to the show. It has always been good to us, and we'll do our diligence and make sure that we have on our stand something interesting for the people to see.
Walid, thank you very much
You're welcome,
for your
guys.
time, and good luck, and we look forward to seeing your materials.
My pleasure, yeah.